the quiet village of Littlecombe lived a young man named Oliver Thorne. He was known for one thing: his remarkable laziness. While other boys his age were out in the fields, working up a sweat, Oliver was always finding ways to avoid hard labor. His family owned a farm, a place that demanded constant effort. But Oliver had a knack for sidestepping it. Instead of chasing crows from the fields, he'd string up tin cans and scraps of metal that clattered in the wind, scaring the birds away for him. His methods were clever, but everyone just saw them as another excuse to do nothing. Oliver's father, a hard-working farmer, was deeply worried. He saw his son's aversion to work and feared for the future of their farm. The land had been in their family for generations, and he couldn't imagine it falling into neglect. Yet, strangely enough, despite Oliver's shortcuts, the crops grew well, and the farm managed to stay afloat. So, his father's concerns were often pushed aside, a problem for another day. He hoped Oliver would eventually grow out of it, that responsibility would find him in time. But time was about to run out. One summer, a shadow fell over Littlecombe. A severe drought seized the land, cracking the earth and withering the crops. The sun beat down relentlessly, and the wells ran low. Desperate to save his farm, Oliver's father worked from dawn until dusk, pushing his body to its absolute limit. But the strain was too much. He collapsed from exhaustion and fell gravely ill, leaving the entire weight of the farm on Oliver's shoulders. For the first time, Oliver was forced to face the reality he had so skillfully avoided. He tried to manage the farm alone, but his lack of strength and experience was a harsh reality check. He couldn't plow the stubborn, dry soil. The cows grew weak, without enough water, and the once green fields turned to brown dust. The family was on the brink of ruin, staring at his failing farm and his sick father. A wave of guilt and regret crashed over Oliver. He felt utterly useless. He finally saw that his laziness wasn't just a quirky habit. It had real, devastating consequences. In that moment of despair, something inside him shifted. For the first time in his life, he truly wanted to change. He just didn't know how. Just as despair began to consume him, a flicker of hope arrived. A royal messenger galloped into the village, his voice ringing through the dusty streets. King Alaric was holding a contest at Winchester Palace. The prize: a chest overflowing with gold, enough to save a dozen farms. For Oliver, it wasn't just gold. It was a lifeline. It was the only chance to pay for doctors, buy new seeds, and dig a deeper well. He announced his intention to enter the contest. The villagers, who had known him only as Lazy Oliver, erupted in laughter. "You," they mocked. "You'll probably fall asleep on the road there." Their ridicule stung, but it also fueled a newfound fire within him. He had to prove him wrong. He had to prove himself wrong. Ignoring their jeers, Oliver packed a small bag and set off alone on the long journey to Winchester Palace, his family's future resting on his shoulders. When Oliver arrived at the palace, he was met with a daunting sight. The courtyard was filled with competitors, burly blacksmiths, seasoned soldiers, and strong farmhands from across the kingdom. They were all bigger, stronger, and more experienced than him. Doubt began to creep in, but he remembered his father's pale face and pushed the fear aside. The first challenge was announced: cross a wide, deep lake without a boat. Immediately, the strongest men dove into the cold water, their powerful strokes cutting through the surface. But the lake was wider than it looked, and soon their energy began to flag. Oliver watched them, his mind racing. He knew he couldn't outswim them. Brute strength wasn't his advantage. Intelligence was. He scanned the shoreline and spotted a pile of discarded logs and thick vines. While others were tiring themselves out in the water, Oliver was busy. He lashed the logs together, creating a simple but sturdy raft. He then found a long, flat piece of wood to use as a paddle. He pushed his raft into the water and began to paddle steadily across. He wasn't the fastest, but he was conserving his energy. He glided past exhausted swimmers, reaching the other side in third place, securing his spot in the final round. The crowd, who had initially dismissed him, murmured in surprise. The final challenge was even more imposing. A massive, rough-hewn block of wood, as heavy as a cart, sat at the starting line. The task was to move it 1 kilometer to the finish. His competitors immediately went for tools of strength levers, ropes, and rollers. They grunted and strained, trying to brute force the block forward, but it barely moved. Oliver stood back, studying the block. Moving it in its current form was nearly impossible. Again, he thought, there must be a smarter way. He approached the tool table and ignored the heavy equipment. Instead, he picked up a small, sharp knife. The other contestants scoffed. What was he gonna do? Whittle it away. But Oliver had a plan. He began to skillfully carve the block, not trying to lift it, but to reshape it. He chipped away at the corners, smoothing the rough edges, slowly transforming the unwieldy square into a large, rough sphere. It took time, and his hands ached, but he didn't stop. Once it was mostly round, he gave it a powerful push. It began to roll. It was still heavy, but now, gravity and momentum were on his side. While the others were still struggling to move their blocks a few feet, Oliver was steadily rolling his toward the finish line. He guided it along the path, and with a final, triumphant push, it crossed the line. He had won. Silence fell over the crowd, then erupted into thunderous applause. King Alaric himself came down from his throne, not to the strong men, but to Oliver. The king declared, "Strength can move mountains, but intelligence can move the world. This young man has proven that a sharp mind is the most powerful tool of all." He presented Oliver with a chest of gold. The boy who was once mocked as lazy was now a hero. Oliver returned to Littlecombe, not just with a fortune, but with a new sense of self. The gold saved his family. He hired the best doctors for his father, bought fresh seeds and livestock, and funded the digging of a new, deep well that brought water back to their land and the village. But the real transformation was within him. He was no longer lazy Oliver. He worked on the farm with a vigor no one had ever seen. His hands now calloused from labor, he became a respected young man, known for his clever solutions and his newfound work ethic. He still found smart shortcuts, but now they weren't for avoiding work. They were for working better, driven by purpose and responsibility. Oliver's story became a legend in Littlecombe, a reminder that it's not always the strongest who win, but the smartest. It teaches us that a powerful reason love for family, a sense of responsibility, or a desperate need to prove oneself can conquer even the deepest-seated laziness. It shows that anyone, no matter their past, has the power to change when they find a purpose worth fighting for. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that empowers you to become the best version of yourself. See you in the next video.